What happens when need meets availability, but pride gets in the way? In a world where trades define dynasties and shape legacies, one of baseball's greatest offensive talents is being systematically ignored by the team that needs him most. A Gold Glove, 10 of them, to be exact. 10 consecutive seasons of unmatched defensive excellence. In 2025, as the New York Yankees continue their seemingly endless search for consistency at third base, 8-time All-Star Nolan Arenado remains in St. Louis, in a relationship that all signs indicate is coming to an end. Baseball's most valuable franchise has a glaring hole in their infield, while one of the greatest offenders of all time is potentially available. The question echoing to the corridors of MLB power isn't whether a trade will happen, but why it hasn't happened yet. What's really going on behind the scenes of this saga that could redefine the balance of power in the American League? The history of the New York Yankees is inseparable from their transformative trades. Since the acquisition of Babe Ruth in 1920, which not only forever transformed the franchise but altered the course of sports history, the Yankees have built their dynasty on decisive moments in the trade market. Third base, specifically, has always been a position of power for the Bronx Bombers. From Greg Nettles in the 70s through Wade Boggs in the 90s, Scott Brocious during the late 90s dynasty, to the arrival of Alex Rodriguez in 2004, the Yankees have historically understood the strategic importance of this position. The Cardinals, in turn, have an equally rich history, with a reputation for knowing exactly when to let go of their stars at the right moment. Albert Pujols, Matt Holliday, Ozzie Smith. The St. Louis franchise has a track record of making difficult but necessary decisions when it comes to managing the life cycle of their stars. When they acquired Arenado from Colorado in 2021, it seemed like the beginning of a new golden era. For years later, with results below expectations, history seems to be repeating itself. And now, Nolan Arenado might be the next big name to follow this historical pattern. Meanwhile in New York, the reality is stark. With Oswaldo Cabrera, who was never considered a natural third baseman, Pablo Reyes, better known as a utility player, and young Oswald Peraza, still seeking consistency at the major league level. The Yankees are experiencing offensive and defensive production significantly below average at a position that has traditionally been a pillar of strength for the franchise. The defensive metrics are particularly alarming. The position has accumulated -5 runs saved so far this season, placing the Yankees among the worst in the league in third base defense. And it's exactly here that you need to help us decipher this enigma. This is a kind of exclusive content and in-depth analysis that only we are bringing to you. If you're truly passionate about detailed baseball analysis and want to be the first to know about possible trades before they happen, this is the perfect moment to hit that subscribe button right now and activate the bell for notifications. The next few days could completely change the future of the league, and you won't want to miss any updates or exclusive analysis that we bring daily. Join thousands of true baseball fans who trust us to go beyond the superficial headlines. The information came as a cold shower for many analysts and fans. According to Andy Martino, respected SNY insider with deep connections within the Yankees organization, the New York team has shown zero interest in Nolan Arenado. In his exact words, as for Arenado, the next time the Yankees are interested will be the first time. This revelation contradicts months of speculation from specialized media and analyses from dozens of experts who saw this combination as practically inevitable. Throughout the offseason, Arenado's name was consistently linked to the Yankees in trade projections, roster needs analyses, and insider discussions. With a solid but not spectacular start to the season, the Yankees have accumulated an 18-13 record coming into May 2025. For a franchise where only championships are considered success, this performance generates significant concerns, especially considering the massive financial investment in the current roster. The team has evident gaps that need to be filled if they want to be true title contenders. The bullpen problems are notorious, with all-star closer Devin Williams being temporarily removed from the role by Aaron Boone after a series of inconsistent performances. Although Williams has responded well with 2 clean appearances since then, uncertainty remains. The pitching rotation, even with the additions of Max Fried and Carlos Rodon, continues to be a concern. After these two, the depth is questionable, and injuries are always a risk for any team with postseason aspirations. But it's at third base where the most obvious problem resides, and apparently the easiest to solve. The current production is simply insufficient for a team with World Series aspirations. Meanwhile, Arenado is producing modest but consistent numbers in St. Louis. A slash line of .243 .336 .411 with 3 home runs, 9 doubles, and 13 RBIs so far this season. While not the extraordinary numbers of his peak years in Colorado, they would represent a significant and immediate improvement to the Yankees' current situation. Defensively, the difference is even more glaring. Even in a more advanced stage of his career, Arenado continues to be an elite defender, while the Yankees have struggled to find defensive consistency at the position. The Yankees clearly recognize their deficiencies, as evidenced by the recent addition of Brian De La Cruz, a right-handed batter who was released by the Atlanta Braves and sent to AAA Scranton/Wilkes-Barre. De La Cruz was added to the 40-man roster after Giancarlo Stanton was transferred to the 60-day injured list. This move indicates that management is aware of the need for quality right-handed batters, exactly what Arenado would offer. What's really happening behind the scenes of this situation is fascinating and reveals the complexities of high-level negotiations in modern MLB. 3 main factors seem to be complicating this potential deal that, on the surface, seems to make all the sense in the world. First, and perhaps most significant, is the famous no-trade clause in Arenado's contract. During the winter, information leaked that the Yankees were not on the list of teams to which he would accept being traded. This revelation alone raises a series of intriguing questions. Does Arenado fear the relentless pressure playing in New York City, where every error is amplified and every slump becomes a headline? Is there any personal issue with specific members of the Yankees management that would make the situation uncomfortable? Or is it simply a calculated strategy to control his own destiny and have bargaining power should negotiation materialize? The second complicating factor is Arenado's substantial contract. He still has significant guaranteed values in his agreement until 2027, when he will be 36 years old. For a player whose main skill is defense, advanced age represents a considerable risk. The Yankees, despite their well-known reputation as big spenders, have been notably more cautious with their long-term financial commitments in recent years. Despite still playing at a high level, the Cardinals, represents a short-term, despite below-expected start to the season, have not yet officially declared that they are in rebuilding mode or sellers in the market. Trading a player of Arenado's caliber and status would be a clear and unequivocal signal of strategic direction change, a decision that would have significant repercussions for the entire organization and its fan base. And then there's the question of return. What would the Yankees have to give up to acquire a player of Arenado's caliber? High-level prospects like Spencer Jones or Jason Dominguez would certainly enter the conversation. The problem is that general manager Brian Cashman has shown extreme reluctance to trade the best young talents in the system, especially for older players. Sources close to the Yankees organization suggest that Cashman may be adopting a more conservative approach this year, recognizing that the competitive window of the current core may be closing, and that sacrificing the future for a short-term boost may not be the most prudent strategy. On the Cardinal side, there are reasons for hesitation too. Arenado is not just a player. He is a franchise icon, a recognizable face that attracts fans to the stadium even when the team is not competing. Giving up a player of that caliber sends a powerful and potentially discouraging message to the fan base. There's also the modern analytical aspect. The data analysis departments of both teams are certainly examining the trends in Arenado's metrics. His hard hit and barrel rate numbers have shown subtle signs of decline in the last 2 years, and his OPS outside cores feel never reached the same levels as his years in Colorado. If this hypothetical trade materialized, the impact would be immediate and deeply felt in both organizations. For the Yankees, the transformations will be multifaceted and potentially decisive for their championship aspirations. The Yankees' internal defense would drastically improve overnight. Arenado, with his impressive 10 consecutive Gold Gloves, would completely transform the left side of the infield. His exceptional ability to cover territory, react instinctively to difficult balls, and execute precise throws from multiple angles would compensate for some of the defensive limitations that Anthony Volpe occasionally demonstrates at shortstop. Advanced defensive metrics tell a compelling story. Since 2013, Arenado has accumulated 152 defensive runs saved (DRS) at third base, easily the highest number in that period. His presence would instantly elevate the Yankees' infield from mediocre to potentially elite. Offensively, the addition of another quality right-handed batter would balance a batting order currently dominated by left-handed talents like Juan Soto and Jazz Chisholm. In a sport where matchups are increasingly important, especially in playoff games, this additional flexibility would give manager Aaron Boone crucial tactical options in the most important moments. Analytical projections indicate that Arenado could add approximately 2.5 WAR to the team just this season, a significant increment that could be the difference between winning the division or having to compete for the wild card. At Yankee Stadium, with its shorter left field line compared to Busch Stadium, there is a real possibility of an offensive recovery for Arenado, especially in terms of power numbers. For the Cardinals, the implications are equally profound, albeit with focus on the future instead of the present. Receiving a package of young talents would significantly accelerate their inevitable rebuild, with Paul Goldschmidt also in the final phase of his career and contract. Releasing these substantial financial commitments would allow a complete renewal around promising youngsters like Jordan Walker and Ma-Sing Win. The resulting financial flexibility would allow the Cardinals to reallocate resources to areas of greater need in the near future, particularly in the pitching rotation, which has been a consistent weakness in recent years. But there's an intriguing alternative scenario that few analysts are considering. What if the Yankees really aren't interested in Arenado because they have another, more ambitious target in mind? Rumors in the industry's backstage indicate that they may be quietly monitoring Jose Ramirez's situation in Cleveland. Ramirez, younger and with a more favorably structured contract, offers similar versatility and consistently superior offensive numbers in recent years. His ability to hit from both sides of the plate would also be a significant differentiating factor. If no trade happens, the consequences could be severe for both organizations. The Yankees would likely continue with below-average performance at third base, potentially compromising their playoff chances, especially when facing teams with dominant rotations where every defensive advantage is amplified. For the Cardinals and Arenado, continuing a marriage that seems to be losing its original shine could result in another season of mediocrity. And for a player with Arenado's credentials, every season out of the playoffs represents a lost opportunity to pursue the one great goal that eludes him: a world championship. The implications for the American League East Division are equally significant, with the Baltimore Orioles emerging as a young powerhouse and the Tampa Bay Rays always competitive despite budgetary limitations. The Yankees cannot afford to leave obvious gaps unsolved. The addition of Arenado could be the move that clearly reestablishes the Yankees as favorites in baseball's most competitive division. The Yankees' title window with its current core is inexorably closing. Aaron Judge, the face of the franchise, won't stay young forever, and his injury history is a constant concern. Juan Soto, acquired at an extraordinary cost of prospects, is in a contract year, and his future in New York remains uncertain. The pitching rotation, led by Garrett Cole, is collectively entering a more advanced phase of their careers, where consistency and availability become increasingly unpredictable. The decision to ignore Arenado, apparently the most obvious solution to a glaring problem, could be seen as brilliantly calculated or tragically disastrous a few months from now. It's the kind of decision that defines executive legacies in professional sports. In the high-risk chess game that is the MLB trade market, unrealized moves often have as much impact as those that happen. For the Yankees, Cardinals, and especially for Arenado, the next few months will determine whether this particular enigma will be remembered as a missed opportunity or a dodged bullet. And you, what would you do in Brian Cashman's place? Would you risk high-level prospects to have Arenado now, prioritizing present over the future? Or would you maintain the current course, trusting that internal solutions might emerge? Perhaps you have a completely different target in mind to solve the Yankees' third base problem? Leave your detailed opinion in the comments below. The discussions generated by our passionate fan community have been incredibly insightful, and we want to hear your analysis. This is the kind of conversation that makes our community special. Next week, we'll explore in depth the market of pitchers who will potentially be available before the trade deadline, including an exclusive and detailed analysis of the intriguing situation in San Diego. Sources within the Padres organization have provided us with fascinating information about management intentions for the coming months. It's the kind of privileged information and detailed analysis that you only find here. So don't forget to subscribe right now and activate notifications to not miss any updates. In a market that evolves and changes every minute, being informed can make all the difference in understanding the moves that will shape the season. Remember, in baseball, as in life, sometimes the greatest stories are those about what could have been, but never was.